shortly. Good evening and welcome to the Lowell Planning Board for February 20th, 2014. Tonight we do have two public hearings and one matter listed under new business. Actually, two matters under new business. If the board has no objection, I'd like to take one of the matters out of order. And if we go first on the special permit extension on Merrimack Street. Is that acceptable to you, Counselor? Yes. Okay. Okay. So under new business, we have, it's a special permit extension. The board will review a request for the owner of the property located 725, 749 Merrimack Street to extend the previously approved special permit. The planning board issued a special permit to convert a former church building and rectory into residential dwelling units pursuant to section 8.1 of the Lowell zoning code. The special permit was later amended to allow the land to be subdivided into 3 separate lots. The applicant has constructed 19 out of the approved 50 lots and is seeking an extension of a 2-year period for the special permit. May we hear the case for the applicant, please, sir?
33 Merrimack Street in Lowell, representing Merrimack Street Real Estate Development Corp. And as you mentioned, we're looking for an extension, a 2-year extension for this special permit. And the reasoning is, with the changes in the housing market since we originally got these approvals, the construction has been a bit slower than we've anticipated. We've since completed the first 19 units which are occupied, and now we're, Brian's hoping to get moving on constructing some additional units. Right now, it's the former church hall itself that is unoccupied, and that's where the next phase is set to begin. And nothing else has changed with the project. So.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Anybody here this evening want to be heard on this issue? Anybody from the public want to be heard? For or against?
Excuse me.
For or against? Hearing none. Any of the board members have any questions?
I have none.
Any comments or questions from anybody? If not, are we going to entertain a motion? I'll make a motion that we extend the special permit for the period of 2 years for the special permit extension.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. One abstention from Mr.
I'll
Okay.
be abstaining, yes.
So we have 4 in favor, none against, and 1 abstention. You all say, Counselor, good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate the courtesy. All right.
You're well, thank you.
2 years?
Yeah, 2-year period, right, okay. Might as well get them out of here, right? Okay, going back to the order of the agenda, we have a site plan review and a special permit for 141 Marginal Street. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to the application by Soho Development LLC seeking site plan approval and special permit for reduced residential parking at the above address. The proposal consists of construction of a 6-story addition to the existing dormitory building for an additional 60 residential units on this parcel of land. The proposed project is located in an institutional zoning district and requires site plan review with the planning board under section 11.42 of the Lowell zoning ordinance, and a special permit for residential parking under section 6.1.6.7 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, Lowell, representing Soho Development LLC. With me tonight is Jim McClutchy, who's the principal of the company, along with Dennis Scannell and Bernie Paquin, our engineer for the project from Dana Perkins. So as the notice stated, we're in front of you tonight requesting site plan approval for an addition to the existing dormitory building at 141 Marginal Street to allow the construction of an additional 60 units and a special permit to reduce the parking required under section 6.1.6.7. As some of you will recall, because I think you three were on the board when this was approved, this project goes back many years. And finally, in 2009, this board approved a site plan and special permit for an apartment building, and then in 2011, we came in and amended it to provide for the dormitory. The project has been completed, and this fall, students moved into the building, and it is being run by the university. At the present time, the building can accommodate 510 students, and if our request is allowed, we are asking for an additional 60 units, or approximately 290 more beds, for a total of 800. The addition would be located on the easterly portion of the lot, and based on the plans that I submitted with the application, the addition blends in with the existing structure. 6 stories, 60 additional units. They will be 2 and 3 and 4 bedroom units. I just want to point out again that this is a private development. It's not owned by the university, so this project is taxed. The developer does pay real estate taxes to the city, and also it will provide for additional employment during construction. The site, however, is under the complete control of the university, and there is considerable presence of UMass Lowell police in the area. So there's been no crime, there's been no problems, and I think there's been an improvement in the neighborhood. I think what I'd like to do at this time is turn it over to our project engineer to go through the project, and then I'll come back and address the other issues that were brought up in the memo from the departments. And Bernie Paquin's here. So he's over there.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Bernie Paquin. I'm an engineer with Dana Perkins. We're civil engineers and surveyors from Tewksbury. Attorney Flood has mentioned some of the items that I was going to refer to. Just some quick information for your interest. The area of the site is approximately 4 acres. As Attorney Flood mentioned, the light orange-colored portion of the building is what is existing now. What is being proposed is the darker orange area. Again, it will be a total of 800 beds, dormitory beds. Presently, we do have a gravel emergency access totally around the rear of the building for fire apparatus, and that will remain. It is a existing 6-story building, and the addition will also be 6 stories. Building footprint of the new addition is approximately 12,700 square feet. Originally, this site was an industrial site, an industrial building. All of the runoff from that original building and the site was discharged into the sewer system, combined sewer system. Part of our original design for the existing building was to separate the stormwater from the wastewater and discharge that stormwater into underground infiltration structures. Those structures are all in place and are functioning the way they should. We also have an open swale beyond the edge of the parking area, which is an emergency overflow in case those recharge areas would back up. In order to handle the new stormwater runoff from the roof area, we are proposing one additional recharge area in front of the building, and that's adequate to handle the roof runoff from the major storms. We are proposing something that we did not show on our original plan, but based on comments that we've received from the planning and the planning department, some additional landscaping at the property line on the east side of the site. And let me get my point here. That would be located right here. This being the residential neighborhood over here. This is the railroad tracks, and then the parking lot for university over here. This is the City of Lowell DPW building. And this area right here is residential with a car wash located right here, which would be commercial. We have provided, in the first phase of construction, landscaping in this area right here. We did work with the planning department, had several meetings out on site, and felt that we satisfied their requirements for the landscaping. And what they're suggesting is some additional landscaping here at the property line of the residential area, and we intend to provide that. If it pleases the board, I would like to go through the other comments that we did receive from the planning department. And they are listed here. I assume you have a copy of those. Item number 1 is there is a zoning requirement that the building be no greater than 8 feet from the property line. We did receive a variance from that regulation for the existing building, so we assume that that would cover the new one as well. Number 2, that is the buffer area that I just mentioned right here, and we will comply with that landscaping. Number 3 has to do with the lighting. Lighting is in the parking area and also on the building as it is now. We will be using the same fixtures. They are shielded fixtures, and they will not broadcast light off the property lines as required. Number 4 is, again, additional landscaping, which, as I mentioned, we will be working with the planning department on additional landscaping. A question about bicycle parking. There is an area inside the building, right here, where bicycles can be parked. There is also number 6 is a trash receptacle is inside the building, right here, and it is removed by the university as needed. There is a chiller equipment to cool the building located right now right here. It will be relocated to the roof of the building, and soundproofing may be required, and we certainly would provide that at that time. Parking spaces. I'm not sure if you covered this one, Jim, but they do have rights to park in the University of Lowell parking area. There is, I'm sure you've seen the bridge from the building over the railroad tracks to the existing parking area. And a construction schedule will be provided by
I
the
think the only one you
applicant.
missed was number 8.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Existing chimney will be demolished, and the cell tower will be relocated to the roof of the new building.
Because
And
where
that will,
that chimney is now, is that where part of the new addition will be, or will it still be to the far right?
it is in the same
I
location.
know it is now, but the new addition, will that go all the way out to where the existing chimney is now? The new addition?
Is that
Oh, okay,
correct?
yeah.
The architects are working on that part of the,
So it would go all the way out past that chimney, okay, yeah, all right.
So it's gonna go to the roof?
Yeah, they're gonna put the cell towers on the roof and then put the, knock down the chimney, yeah.
We did receive, Mr. Chairman, comments from the city engineer when we walked in the door. I did quickly look at those comments. I don't really see anything that's insurmountable. We'd be happy to review them, and if there's anything that you feel is appropriate, maybe that could be a condition of the approval.
As to the existing cell tower and I know we have to come back in for site plan approval and that we need a special permit also to relocate it from the zoning board of appeals. So I'd ask that if you approve this project, it'd be a conditional approval subject to us doing that. I'd like to just address the parking and the reason for my request for special permit. The request is to reduce, oh, let me just give you this letter too. I'm sorry, I forgot to give it to you earlier. It's a letter from the university.
Thank you, Counsel.
We're asking to reduce the parking under 6.1.67 by up to 50% for the following reasons. In an institutional zone, residential parking requirements may be reduced by as much as 50% if a publicly owned parking facility is located within 400 feet of the entrance to the use if the planning board finds that said public parking facility will accommodate the parking demands of the project. In our case, if approved, the maximum number of beds would be 800, and under the zoning requirements, you need one space for each 2 beds, or a total of 400 beds. If it was reduced by 50%, that would reduce it to 200 parking spaces. Under the plan presented tonight, we do have 221 spaces on site. As you're all aware, the dormitory is located directly across the railroad tracks from the University of Lowell Riverview parking lot. There is a pedestrian walkway running directly from the dorm over the tracks down to the entrance of the Riverview parking lot. Parking lot is publicly owned by the University of Lowell. And according to the letter submitted tonight from the university, all students residing in this dormitory have parking rights on either the site or in this parking lot. So they're all guaranteed a parking space there. So based on those facts, I feel that the project satisfies the requirements of 6.1.67. But in addition, what makes it a little different at this time, I've gotten some figures from the university as to the present the number of parking spaces located on that side of the off-Broadway road, off-Broadway Street. The Riverview lot itself contains 939 parking spaces. In addition, the university recently constructed a new South Campus parking garage, which is directly adjacent to the Riverview lot. I think if you've been up there, you've seen it. That new garage contains an additional 765 spaces. Since the construction of the new garage, if you drive by the Riverview lot, you'll see that it's hardly used at all. Most people are parking in the new garage, and there's plenty of room left on the Riverview lot. So I feel that there's, where we've got guaranteed parking through the lease with the university, plus the fact there's plenty there, I think we satisfy that requirement. And I don't see any need for any more. I mean, it's specific in the lease and it's specific in that letter. We did receive tonight comments from the city engineer, but she jumped ahead a little because she referred to 1291 Middlesex Street, which hopefully is going to come back to you in the future, but it's not there yet because we have to go to the city council for a zone change. And our proposal would be to have a new entrance into the dormitory through that lot if we get the zone change. But I think a lot of her comments have to do with sidewalks and handicap.
Yeah, one of them was the traffic, I'm talking about,
Yeah, that has to do with that, but that will come up at a later date.
I saw that about the 2 inbound lanes, and I'm like,
Yeah,
as we just got it this evening
but we
ourselves.
can't, we have to get the zone change first before we can bring that in. We were hoping to bring it in, but we were told that we'd have to do that. So I think she jumped ahead on that. But, I mean, that's our project. We're here to answer any questions. We'd like to get approval as soon as possible because the university, they're the ones that requested this. They'd like to get in there by August of 2015. And we'd ask your approval.
Would you need a new variance for the extension of the dormitory that's there now? I know you got I know you have a variance before, but now if you're extending it, would you need the new variance to do the new portion?
No, because it's on the front of the building. That already exists.
Okay.
That already exists.
Okay.
That, we obtained that, and we got I mean, you remember the long process we went through because of the lawsuit, but no, we don't need a new variance. That's fine.
So you wouldn't need any variances at all then? Okay, just so the one that was given before satisfies the requirement on the new...
Correct,
Okay.
yep, because it's existing.
Okay, gotcha. Do you have anybody else from the applicant who wants to speak before I turn it over to the public? I mean, the only thing that jumped out at me before I have you there on the comments is, I had the comments from wastewater that said there was no problem, and then now I'm not sure if the city engineers is a little different.
Yeah, we saw that too, but
So and I just got this tonight, so I
Mike Stewart said there was no problem with that.
He says,
in
as
his-
mentioned, the additional sewage for the development is negligible income to the town with an amount of stormwater. And then, like currently, the sewer main in Marginal Street tends to filter capacity, which is by the city engineer, so. This is a contradictory fee in this after getting the other comment. So,
Well, we'll work with the city engineer on her comments anyways.
all right. So, if there's nobody else on the applicant to
speak? Nope.
speak, I'll see if anybody else in public wants to speak, okay. Anybody else here this evening want to speak in regards to this project? Anybody else want to be heard? In favor? In favor? In favor? Anybody want to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Excuse me, we did receive a communication in our packet tonight. Let me pull this out. I think it was by the Neighborhood Association. We received, okay, we received by planning staff today, an email from Nancy Judge, Highlands Neighborhood Association. Members of the board, I'd like to inform you that the planning board that Soho Development LLC did come before the Highlands Neighborhood Association on February 10th with a complete presentation of the project before this evening. And they want you to know that the existing building is quite appealing to the eye, clean and well-kept, and security impeccable, and to my knowledge, there have not been any issues with the existing dorms. So I ask at this time if Soho Development LLC meets all your requirements, that you approve the project. So we have a letter in favor from the Neighborhood Association.
Jim did meet with them, was it last week?
Yeah, I think it, but it's like, yeah, February 10th, I think it says. Right, okay. Okay, so we have no comments from the public. I'll turn over to any board members who have questions or concerns.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, we'll start with you, Bob.
I have a couple too. Do you, by any chance, know how many students in the dorm are using cars?
I don't have an exact number, Bob. I don't.
No.
I don't. But there's been no problem.
Best thing to see.
Most of the lot on site is full at night, but there's nothing on the others, nothing at Riverview. So with the availability of that parking lot, there's been no parking problems.
Okay, and the plans do say there's an underground garage in this building?
On the first floor, yes, yeah. On the existing portion, yeah.
You know how many spaces are in that?
How many inside the? I think 28 spaces. 28 underground.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Malovich and I weren't on the board when the original project was approved. Could you please walk me through the ownership and leasing? Who owns the land? Who owns the building?
Soho Development LLC owns the land and owns the building. They've entered a long-term lease with the University of Lowell to take over the building. They maintain it, they control it, they take over the whole thing. I think that was one of the requirements of the regulations as far as the dormitory was concerned, that someone had to be in control of it. So the university is in complete charge. And that's why the university police are there. They go through it probably every hour, and it's been good for the neighborhood.
Okay. On this issue of about the sewer capacity in Marginal Street, currently the sewer main in Marginal Street tends to run at full, I'm reading from the city engineer's memo. The sewer main in Marginal Street tends to run at full capacity. It has experienced surcharges several times a year. The additional flow from this project will exacerbate that situation. You had said you would work with the city engineer on that.
We would, but the Mike Stewart of the wastewater said there's no problem. So, we don't know what the issue is on that.
Yeah, we don't really know either. Joe, can you shed some light on this?
Yeah, I think currently there's still some occasions where there could be some discharge that the engineer had mentioned. Mike Stewart in his memorandum had mentioned that there is a forthcoming project that wastewater is going to be completing that should help alleviate the situation a bit. So I think that's why he doesn't anticipate any major issues from this development adding to the system.
Okay.
So I think Mike's memo is from the viewpoint of that project in place, and the city engineer is in the viewpoint of the project, of the situation right now.
Any sense of the timing on that project?
I don't have a timeline for that project. I do know it's in the near future.
The near future. He had mentioned they want people to be able to be in by August 2015. When you say near future, do you mean before then?
I think it's, set to start before then.
Okay. Did you have anything on that?
No, I was gonna, what was the question?
The question was about the project that is going to be done by the city to improve the capacity and the timing on that.
I think Mike Stewart's letter said it had been approved and they're just waiting. I don't know whether they're waiting for funding or what they're waiting for.
Okay.
But the city is taking the steps to take care of it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and the issue of the the off-site parking needing to be approved. There is currently the land is owned by Soho. The building is owned by Soho. The university leases the space, and the university allows the residents to use the parking lot, to use
Correct.
the Riverview parking lot. Is there any formal written? Is there a deeded right to use that parking lot that Soho owns? Or is it included as part of the lease, or is it just a university policy?
You're talking, the Soho piece, that's part of the project, and the university still controls the parking lot on site.
Right.
The other, you're talking, on the other side is used by the university, and I think that letter from Tom, whatever his name, said that they all have the right to park in there, and there is a written lease for the whole project. It's a big document between Soho and the university for the development, and that provides for the parking also.
Okay. My concern in bringing this up is that the is that Soho, the owners of this building, will have the right to have their residents park in that lot for as long as they have a lease with the university. If there should, in even the distant future, be a situation in which the university divests itself of this relationship, what we will have is an apartment building with insufficient parking.
Well, it's a special permit, so you could put that condition on it only so long as the university stays there.
Yes, I was,
What
had occurred to me would be a deed that the university grants the right of the residents of this building to use so many spaces in the university lot.
I think they say they'll let them use whatever spaces are necessary to satisfy the needs of the students.
Yes.
Not all the students are gonna have cars anyway, so,
Right.
I mean, they've agreed they said they all shall have specific parking rights.
Okay, again, but this is the concern. If in the future, the university divests itself of this relationship, then this dormitory becomes an apartment building. We will have a situation in which that apartment building will not necessarily any longer have the right to use the Riverview parking lot. And in addition, if it goes from being a student-occupied university dorm to being an apartment building, the parking demand created is likely to be larger. So this is my concern, what I'm thinking as a way to get around to that concern is to have something more long-lasting and binding than just a lease or a university policy, but there actually be a deeded right to use this parking that you are claiming.
It's in the lease, I mean.
It's in the lease.
It's in the
Yes,
lease.
a lease which could be canceled. And if the lease is canceled, the building will still be there.
Well, if it's not a dormitory, then that right would terminate because the university's not using it. I mean, if it's a special permit, you can put a condition on, so long as the university occupies the dormitory building.
So if the university ceases to occupy the dormitory building, the owners will no longer will no longer be permitted to have people occupy that building unless
No.
they come back for another special permit?
They'd have to come back for another, there are other provisions. They'd have to enter into another lease with the university because it's within 14, there's other provisions in the zoning that allows parking within 1,400 feet from the site, so. I mean, it's all, what we're asking for is to allow the university to use it. The university's providing parking for the students. You've got the letter, it's in the lease, and that's all we're asking for.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mitch?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. You had any additional discussion with the fire department relative to the new building?
No, we haven't.
Do you intend to?
Well, they didn't send any comments. There is a fire lane around the building.
Right.
It's the same as it was before, so there's no, I mean, they can get their ladders up there just like they did, like
Yeah,
original approval.
for it's such a large structure, is that a requirement, Joe? I mean, what,
Yeah, we didn't receive any comments from the fire department. I'm going to
did
assume.
we ask them for?
Yeah,
comments?
yeah, we sent
We
plans.
haven't received anything back.
We never received anything from them.
Okay, I think we need to see them. So, yeah, okay. The other question I have is regarding the cell tower. Now, you stated that you're gonna put it on top of the building. Is there anybody here that can give us a feel for the visual impact of that? And how high that might be? It wouldn't,
Any
you
approval,
have to go to the zoning board for that?
you have to go both, have to come here,
Okay.
site plan approval, and then the zoning board. So any approval would be subject to us doing that. But we didn't want to do that until we knew that the addition was approved, so.
All right, so we can
Yeah,
condition,
it'd be conditional.
yeah, all right.
But you're gonna get another look at it if we come back,
Yeah,
because
and
it's
it
gotta
would be
come here
nice to
first.
see, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, they got a beautiful looking building here, and it'd be, one of my favorite things is ugly cell towers and those things. I mean, they spoil a lot of views. I'd really like to see what that looks like.
So just on that, you probably just put the, you might not need a tower, just the antennas maybe? Is that,
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
because you're high enough up already?
Yeah,
That's like we do like, up at, the towers, where Wang used to be in some of the churches. They don't need a tower on top. They just put
some of them can be
the antennas up.
terribly ugly.
Right.
Go ahead, Rich, I'm sorry. I just wanted to follow up on that.
Yeah, no, that's really all I have.
Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question with the, I just want to clarify, I think it was Mr. Paquin, was it regarding the landscaping? I know on that 10-foot buffer, which you said is you would comply, you said I guess you used two phrases, you'd put additional landscaping and you would comply, but I don't think you'll be able to meet the 10 feet, or are you going to meet the 10 feet in, is that what you mean by additional landscaping, or?
The zoning, the zoning code requires that when we abut a residential district, they're specifically call for a 10-foot wide
Correct.
landscape buffer with certain trees and vegetation, and that's what we would comply with.
You will comply with the 10 feet?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, no, I just, again, I heard you say you would put additional landscaping, then I heard you use the phrase comply, so.
In
so
addition
you will
to
comply with
what
the 10
we've already
buffer.
submitted, that was the purpose of that plan.
Okay.
I think he said he'd work with the planning on the landscape.
For finalizing the landscaping, yes, yep. Now, regarding the, Mr. Flood, is regarding the parking, and I know Eric Eby, the city's traffic engineer, his comment was, a parking analysis of the UML parking lot and garage should be provided to document the availability of parking spaces for the proposed expansion. The parking demand of the existing housing facility should also be documented as a basis for determining the expected parking demand of the proposed expansion. The proponent needs to show that the expected parking demand can be accommodated within the existing parking facilities of UML to avoid potential spillover parking on adjacent residential streets. And I appreciate giving us the numbers, and I wasn't quite sure what the parking garage, what the numbers were there, and I can't even recall when that parking garage went up. I don't know,
Last year, I think.
last year?
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, so it is.
Because I'm aware of what the situation was anecdotally before the parking garage, and it was not good. I mean, if you had again, from an anecdotal standpoint, my daughter graduated from there and had classes at South Campus, and if it was a 11 o'clock class and she didn't go there for 8 o'clock, she couldn't park, so,
I think Jim can address it. He's there every day. He can tell you what he's observed. I mean, I don't know what you're looking for.
I know, what I'm looking for is if there is a way we can get, and nothing's guaranteed, but some analysis that shows what the current demand is of what you've currently built. Based on that, your historic data to date, what you anticipate then the additional housing units would require, and then, even if it was a rudimentary analysis of the combination of the parking spaces from the surface lot and the parking garage during peak hours, what type of vacancy do they have, or is it full of capacity?
You're talking like a parking count?
Exactly.
In the morning,
Exactly,
using like
yeah.
a couple of times a week?
I mean, I think it's incumbent upon us, I mean, God forbid if for some reason there isn't enough capacity and the cars start to spill over onto the residential streets. I mean, and the question should be asked of this board in the city, why didn't you take appropriate precautions? And again, based on the information we have, I don't think we're making a decision based on anything that can quantify one way or the other. I mean, I can give, we can give anecdotal stories all night, but that's not going to.
So what you would want a breakdown of the present number of students with cars? Is that-
Correct, yes, yeah, yep. it gives some historical perspective on the usage right now.
And I would assume then in the future, you could probably take the same percentage.
Correct.
As to the future, so we'd have an idea of how many spaces you would need.
Correct.
And then you would like, well, they tell me that the lot on site is not full every night.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many are parking across the way. But you would want to count, tell me what you want, Jerry, we can do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as, and especially, these are all students that are there. So
Right.
I can't imagine even during the day, they're gonna move their cars. So in a peak capacity, peak times, I suspect would be during the day. So what does it look like from, the hours between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. type of thing? I suspect that's the peak time. That's an anecdotal from my daughter. I mean, that was the peak time.
How many days do you want counted?
Well, not during spring break. Or during a snow cancellation. I've sat through those things before.
Yep.
But, I mean,
I can't remember what we did on Perkins Street. I think we did, well, I think the planning department went over and did a count.
yeah, I was gonna say, you worked in conjunction with the planning department.
Yeah.
If it truthfully, and I'm not a traffic engineer, if you could coordinate that with Eric Eby as to what would be sufficient, I think would be beneficial to all involved.
Well, we have no problem doing that.
Okay.
No problem doing
Yeah,
that. I mean, I know you're concerned, but from what I've been told and from what's over there now, it's, with the number of spaces there, with the new parking garage.
And I can
there's not
appreciate
a
that,
problem.
but, yeah, no, I can appreciate that.
But I have no problem with that. We have no problem doing that.
And I guess to Mr. Boyle's point, it brought back memories because I believe myself and Mr. Genron were grappling with the original concept of, and we likened it to a nuclear power plant. Once you build it, you can't disassemble it. So, once you build it and the units are there,
Yep.
and if there's no longer a contract with the university, even though you condition it, I mean, if they get to the parking ratio that's appropriate to the zoning, does that mean half the building has to be vacant to meet the, the requirements? So, that, I mean, I think everybody can appreciate that thought process when you look at that. That is a bit of a concern on that. And I can recall when the zoning change was made at that site and being concerned with the level of density that was increasing as a result of that zoning change. I was sitting in public at that meeting. But I think it's one of these situations where we certainly, I think for myself, in the original approval, had come to a level where I had a comfort level with that.
Yeah.
But I think it's a legitimate concern, and I think we
Yeah.
expressed that at the time.
Well, and if we come in with our other project, there will be some additional parking on that site too. Not that much, but I think it's 10 to 12 spaces on 1291 with the new entranceway in. So there's going to be more parking there
Yeah.
if we come through with that. But I understand what you're saying. It could happen. I don't think it will in the long run. I don't think the university is going to let this go. So,
Is it a long-term lease that's?
how many years, Jim? 20 years.
20 years?
Yep.
Okay,
There renewals on it? Yes.
okay, all right, good. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
The only question I have is just to follow up with Jerry. When I went and looked at the site on Monday, of course, in that parking lot behind where the walkway is, there's hardly any cars there because there's no school in session. The only question I had, would this here, parking going into, what's it, the Riverview parking spot? Is that it?
Riverview, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, would that be enough to accommodate the day students as well as the residents from here? I didn't take in consideration of the parking garage, as you mentioned, so that,
Yeah, from what I've been told,
by telling me that adds another 765 parking.
765, yeah, from what I've been told, that has taken the bulk of the parking during the day.
Yeah.
Even when school's in session.
Before, I didn't even think of that one, because of course, that's all university stuff that doesn't have to come before us.
They back in school now? Yeah. Maybe we could take some pictures of the parking lot at
I
at
was there
various
Monday,
times.
but, being a holiday, there was,
Yeah.
you know,
We
it was
could
like
take
a
some
1:30
pictures at
would've been
various
fine.
times, so you'll see what the demand is.
I know the history of this, And just getting back to the people who weren't here before was, the most important thing on this whole project was getting that walkway over the railroad. And that was part of, and trying to get the commitment from the railroad.
It was tough, yeah.
Yeah, it
took
was
some
not
time.
easy. And I know, the first time around, we really had to go at it. Coming back in the second time, having that commitment, I think, helped seal the deal.
Yeah,
Because without that, they weren't gonna go down Marginal, go over the other street,
They
come
wouldn't
all the
have.
way around. It wasn't gonna happen.
and it was a financial commitment on his part to put it in too, believe me. Believe me.
Because the dorms do look nice. I was up, like I said, I was there Monday night. So how many spaces are actually on this side of the tracks where the dorms are now? I know, like, you're parking in front of the dorms,
Well, there's 235 there now,
on this side, not
on
counting
the
lot.
dorm side.
Right, okay.
But if we do the development, we're gonna lose some, so it'll be down to 221.
Yeah, because you had some parking there to the right,
Yeah,
and that's where
parking
the
at
chill
the-
pads were, I believe, they're gonna be moved? There to the right as well?
They were parking on the right. Remember, there was a question of the curbing in there. We went
Remember?
through that before. But yes, there was parking there.
Then you
We're
have the
gonna
gate-
lose,
Then you have the gate there, that goes to the side street.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, can I
Sure,
just,
yeah, go
just a
ahead.
clarification, the letter from DPD says it's reducing it from 235 to 211. You said 222, is it, just for my records, was it
let me see my application. What my application say? My application is, it was 221, I think.
Just want to make sure, because I've, for my notes, if I'm going back to...
221, right, Bernie? I had it out here, but I don't know. It's in my file. You got my
Yeah,
application?
221 is on the application,
221 is what I was told.
235.
Oh, it's 211? 211, I'm
211.
sorry, yeah. I'm
211.
sorry.
So 211 is the correct number?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Oh, 211. Yeah, that's our maximum street.
It is 211?
Just a question, how do you determine who gets to park on this side of the tracks or on the other side of the tracks? Okay, I'm just curious, I mean,
Wait a minute.
somebody who's parking here now, I would say, well, what's my spot doing over there? But most likely you deal with that with the new addition, right? Plus there's a turnover.
Depends on where they come from, if it's more convenient for them to drive in, the Broadway side, that's where they park. So it's not like it is now.
Plus always with students, you have a turnover anyway, so who's ever parking there now, they'll be on, the other ones will be coming in.
And they have very tight control of it. They know who parks where. And
Because it's keypad to getting in, I noticed, right?
well, as far as
Could you step up so people can, could you set the microphone? Because at home, people aren't picking up your conversation with me.
the availability of spaces, they control that totally, the university, so as many spaces are needed for the building, as the letter says, they'll be provided in that parking lot. Even if the parking lot is filled to capacity, that capacity is taken. The capacity for the students that live there is part of that lot right now. That's committed. So if they need more parking, which they always have needed more and more parking because they're increasing their enrollment, they'll have to find it elsewhere. But the students that live in this building will have available parking in that lot. That's a commitment from the university. So whatever we have on our side and whatever we need on their side will be available. Okay?
Because, I mean, but we know the university is expanding, and we have
Yes.
more people living,
Oh, yeah,
who
and
want to
right,
live
right
there.
now, right now, I can tell you that parking lot on the Riverview side is less than 50% capacity right now. The new parking garage is opened up, so it's opened that up, where in the past it was overflowing. You couldn't park in there. I knew that. But now it's about, the parking lot itself is at about 50% capacity because everybody wants to park in the garage. But again, the university will control that to the extent that they have to provide the parking for the students that live there. They're going to be able to park there. If they have to segregate it, they'll segregate it. But there will be parking made available for anybody that lives in the building. And that's whether it's under lease or not. It's part of the lease goes beyond it. So as long as students live in the building, so it stays. If it becomes a private dormitory, the parking rights will remain in effect as long as students live in that building. They'll be allowed to park in that lot, even if there's no lease in place. Just to answer your question there.
As long as students live in the building, they will.
As long as students live in the building, they'll be allowed to park in that lot.
And if the building use is changed at some time in the future,
Well, if the building use has changed, that'll be a different story, but
then you'll have to come back for another special permit, or would they be able to change that use without coming back?
Oh, they'd have to come back here.
The board could condition that they would come back for
Use change.
another special permit to attempt to reduce the parking.
What I'm asking is, under the current zoning, would, if it was no longer being leased out to students and wasn't would that represent a change in use
Change
under
in
the
use,
zoning?
yep.
Which would, okay, so then so the special permit that we might grant tonight would no longer apply. It would, and in order to have that building occupied and rent out the rooms, they would need another special permit from this board, at which point this board could take up the parking issue again.
Yeah, if the use were to change, the parking requirement would change, I guess unless for whatever reason, the parking requirement was less sometime in the future than what it is now, which I wouldn't anticipate happening. If it were to change over to, as you mentioned as an example, a regular apartment building, a new special permit would have to be sought by whoever was making that change.
I think
From
that
the board.
under that, under your regulations, under section 5, 6.15, if it was changed into an apartment building, the parking requirements would be greater anyways. So in order to satisfy that, they would have to enter into a written lease with a publicly owned parking facility within 1,500 feet in order to operate as an apartment building. So the special permit for the dorm would terminate, and they'd have to come up with another lease someplace else under that, under your parking regulations.
Okay. If it was, just trying to make sure all our bases are covered here. What about a situation in which it was not considered a change in use, it was still considered a dormitory, a private dormitory, but there was no longer a formal relationship with the university? Under that situation, there'd be out of compliance with the special permit because they would no longer have the parking, because the parking available in the Riverside lot is a condition of the special permit, and if they no longer have that parking available, they're in violation of the special permit?
Essentially, yes. If it was conditioned such that the lease had to be in place for the special permit to be valid, once that lease is no longer in place, then the special permit, the applicant or any subsequent owner would have to come back to the board in order to try to modify that special permit.
Okay, and the special permit for the existing building does contain a condition referring to the parking in the Riverside lot?
The board could certainly make that as part of a motion if it would make you feel more comfortable.
But the current special permit for the current building, does that include such a condition?
I don't think the decision did, because we weren't requesting a special permit to reduce it that much.
Okay.
But it does provide that we have to have parking with, something in writing from them, which we have.
Okay,
Which we have.
okay.
But I think that if it becomes an apartment building, I think your requirements are greater.
Yes.
You have to go out again.
Right.
But if it's used as a dormitory, I think it would continue,
Right,
as long as they have the rights with the university.
right, as long as they have the rights to the
Right.
parking. That's
Yep.
that's the point I want to make here. We have to
No
make.
problem with that, no problem with that.
Okay, we can include that as a condition.
I remember, back to the last application, one of the big things we had was, number one, getting back, like I said, the tunnel going over. And the university said they would have buses there if need be, to take them to other locations over to North Campus. And
Yeah, they would,
be allowed to park there, and that was all in, the university was all on board with that. And, but I remember they said, even their buses, because they do shoot them back and forth from North to South Campus.
They still do.
Yeah,
They
that's
do
what I'm
that,
saying.
yeah.
And that was what we discussed last time, and they had buses coming into that lot, which
Right.
is still available for the students who have to go back and forth to both sides.
They pick them up, and at least there's a place where they can hide.
Right.
And then if it's raining or snowing, they can, they have that space.
And
to-
I remember last time we spent a lot of time on, and I'm pretty sure you said it's the same, about the supervision of the dorms that was done under the control of the university, and I think we spent a lot of time
We did.
under who was policing that, and so this would stay the same, obviously.
Absolutely, and
Spent a-
I think, I think you read the letter from the neighborhood. They're very happy with the police present over there because
I
there's
mean, we
been
spent
no
a lot of time
problems.
on who'd require it, how many people, how many staff you would have, and I think part of the other agreement, we had like a ratio, didn't we, like how many?
Can't remember that. You've got a pretty good memory.
Yeah,
though.
it was like, I want to say it was like Rich said, like 1 in 50 or something, but we broke it all the way down for the security issues,
But there's been no problems.
so, which is
and-
good, because it's working then.
And I think the police presence helps.
Oh, yeah.
Police presence helps.
But I mean, we went down to like how many per, how many RAs were gonna be there, how many policing were gonna be there, we spent a lot of time on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's worked well.
So knowing that that's in place and has been working, obviously it's gonna keep the same situation, right?
It's worked well, so.
Any other board members have any follow-ups, or any recommendations at this time?
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, we're gonna need 2 votes, right? Yeah, because,
Plan and special.
I'm just saying, we need 2 votes because you need a site plan and a special permit.
Correct.
The only thing we're discussing now is how would, I just asked Jerry, what would satisfy that parking situation that he addressed, whether we have to continue to bring it back in with that, or we do it subject to approval, or,
A conditional approval that we work with planning department and Eric to come up with something that satisfied
Oh,
the
yeah.
department.
Eric studied this.
and then they could submit that back to us, and we could
Right.
take it up either
Right.
administratively, if we have a problem with it, we can notify you and come back with it?
Correct, no problem, but I'd like to keep the
Yeah,
ball
I
moving
just want
if
to,
we could.
I mean, I know he addressed it, and you had no problem with it, so I wasn't sure procedure-wise which way we're gonna go with it, so.
Yeah.
Whether it be, wait
I-
till we
I'd
get
like
the
to do-
information, or,
If we could do it that way, that'd be good, and then we get the ball moving, and I'll call Eric, and we'll see what he wants, and I'll deal with the university. I think that's who I gotta talk to.
yeah. Because, I mean, I think the only other issues, basically, as Mr. Paquin said, he was basically in agreement with everything that DPD staff comments had, willing to work with the lighting and the landscaping. I know there was, Rich just want to make sure that we get something back from the fire department, make sure they're still fine with that turnaround now that the building's extended. So hopefully we can get that from them, and
I
then,
don't think there's really any difference, Rich, because where the building is proposed used to be a parking lot, and I think that the driveway went around it to the
I
back.
don't think there is, it's just,
Yeah.
the nature of the building and the number of people there, I think.
so hopefully, they
Oh,
could,
I understand.
if Joe reaches out to them, maybe they'll send
Not a
us
big
back
deal.
an email, so we can see it back.
That's all.
And I think one of the other issues come up, obviously, was, the condition on, for the special permit, as long as UMass has an agreement with this project for the dormitory for that parking, which you said you didn't have a problem with.
I don't have a problem with that. You don't have a problem with that, Jim? Nope.
So, I mean, I think those are basically the issues we discussed tonight, and it seems that most of them have been addressed adequately. So what we'll need would be a motion for the site plan approval and the special permit.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of the site plan approval with the following conditions. That we receive some approval from the fire department. We work with DPD on a landscaping detail, particularly the 10-foot buffer on the east side of that. Show us something, give us an idea visually about the cell tower, the new cell tower arrangement and the antennas, so that we can see the impact
I
of
think,
that.
I think we
They have
have,
to come back with
we have to
some-
come back to you anyways, Rich.
Oh,
So,
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
so I think
yeah.
you'd make it
All right,
conditional
okay.
upon us getting the site plan and the special permit.
right.
Yep.
And the
Lighting, I think.
the study with Eric, the traffic study that Jerry is talking about.
And I think the other one, which was a condition for, well, for the parking, we could put that same condition on the site plan as well as a special permit, obviously, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't think you need it on the site plan, you need it on the special permit.
Well,
Makes no difference, because,
yeah,
it's not
that's what
gonna
I'm
be
thinking,
used as a
because I'm thinking
dormitory.
if it doesn't meet the parking on the site plan,
Yeah, all right,
you know.
no problem.
Work that out. That's-
so if, Rich, you want to put in the condition that, that the they have to have a agreeable lease agreement with the university for the parking spaces to
Yeah,
entertain
yes.
all the residents in the dormitory use, or who's ever in that building.
Yes,
Would terminate upon,
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So I think basically what it was
ownership change.
approval by the fire department, landscaping, and also I think it was the lighting, Rich, that you mentioned too, because they said they'd work with them on the
Oh,
lighting.
yeah,
that they
the
have
lighting
there,
is,
right?
was on here,
Um,
yeah.
The parking agreement is to come up with a parking agreement study as to the feasibility of the amount of parking spots on site in the Riverview parking lot, as well as the new parking on, what was that? On, that was on with the new parking garage, what was that on the corner over by, that had the 765, so a parking plan?
campus parking garage.
Yeah, okay.
Sub-campus.
What's that on the corner of Broadway and the other street, is it?
Yeah,
What's that on the corner of Broadway Street and?
No, it's before, it's right next to the Riverview parking before.
Oh, that one,
right
okay,
next-
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I think they all park there because it's a lot closer to the classroom building, so they have less
Especially if it's
distance to walk.
garage, this, in this weather, you don't have to brush the cars off when you come out unless you're on the top deck.
I hope it's
I
over.
like parking in there, there's no,
I hope it's over.
So I think we have with the fire department, landscape, lighting, the parking agreement, and the agreement with the university for the parking spaces in the dormitory use, right? Were those
yes.
the 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, conditions? Is that what your motion is, Rich, for
Yes,
those four?
yeah, those
Okay.
four.
And I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion's made in second.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to open up to discussion this issue about adequacy of the sewerage. Should we include we could include a condition that the wastewater utility finds that adequate sewer capacity exists prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, just to make sure that we don't want the dorm to open up before the sewer improvements are made.
If there's a problem, Mike Stewart said there isn't on the,
Mike Stewart said that there isn't a problem because the new project that they're planning will provide adequate capacity. I'm concerned about a timing issue here. Are these extra students moving into the dorm, adding capacity to the sewerage system, a year or 6 months before the sewer project is done? We could condition this on making sure the sewer project is done first and then the students move in.
I don't know why don't you put a condition that wastewater is satisfied that the discharge is fine for it? Because who knows when they're gonna get the project done? If he's satisfied that there's not a problem, why don't you let us open? It's a city problem. And, it's gonna be taken care of eventually, but if they say there's not a problem, it's negligible, let us open, because they're pushing to get this open in August of 2015. And if you have to wait for funding, that could be a year or two down the road. Just if wastewater is satisfied that there's no problem. I have no problem with that
Yeah,
condition.
no, I think, the statement here, it does say what Joe said, and then it says the additional flow from this project will exacerbate that situation, which it will, of course it will, there's more
That's from
runoff.
Lisa, though, right?
Yeah,
That's the city engineer,
but it
this is
won't,
wastewater.
it doesn't specifically say it's gonna, put the system to sleep, so I would agree with what you're saying.
So one, you say condition on both, an approval of wastewater?
Yeah,
So you amend your
with
motion
the
to that?
approval of wastewater.
Okay, one, you amend the motion to include that then.
So I'll amend the motion to include that wastewater statement.
But I didn't,
He said, Rich said he would amend his,
I'm sorry.
he would amend the original motion to include the satisfaction of the wastewater.
you said,
Yeah.
you
The
satisfied?
comment was made?
Yeah.
To satisfy the wastewater,
Yeah, that the discharge is appropriate. That's fine, that's
you want
fine.
to put that on the motion, Rich? Okay.
Yes, I will
All right.
put that as part of the motion.
Do we have any other further discussion? If not, Jerry, do you want to second the
Just-
motion as amended?
Just so I can clarify.
Sure.
So what we're looking for by that addition to the amendment, the amendment to the motion was to go back to wastewater based on the comments from the engineers department, and just to get reassurance that their assessment is that it's negligible. We all understand there's an existing issue over there, and it was
Yeah,
with the
there was.
original approval. And I think we had gotten all the information at that time. And just to maintain that there is a meeting of the minds here and that wastewater is saying that at the end of the day,
It's negligible. yeah.
it's negligible what's being proposed here, with everybody understanding there is an existing issue that they're looking to address.
And the city is going to address it.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure we'll understand that. Yeah, I'll second that amended.
So we have the motion amended in second. Any further discussion? So all in favor of the motion for the site plan with the conditions as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, the site plan carries, 5 in favor and none against. Now we need a motion for the special permit.
Mr. Chairman, the special permit to reduce the parking requirement?
Yes, that's the special permit request.
Okay. I move that we approve the special permit to reduce the parking requirement as per section 6.1.67, subject to the condition that the applicant maintain a lease or other instrument providing adequate parking within the Riverside lot. I'm sure that could be more eloquently phrased.
Because technically, we put that into the site plan too, right?
You did put it in, I thought you did on the site plan, yeah.
Yeah, that, so we could, yeah, I mean,
I think you did.
yeah, so we put down as long as UMass has an agreement with, the parking facility. That's
Yeah,
what it says.
I would maintain that would offer that we make that conditional upon the two items that pertain to parking and site plan, which was the parking analysis in conjunction with Eric Eby that was satisfactory at DPD, and the agreement with
Continue.
UMass Lowell, the lease agreement with UMass Lowell to provide parking.
Yeah, or how about just a continuous relationship with UMass Lowell where it'd be used as a dormitory?
Correct, because that's the dormitory use is
Yeah.
what
With the university.
which provides the ratio for the parking as it exists, and then they need to provide the overflow parking as a result.
Right.
I would not find maintain a relationship with the university sufficient. I would want language shall maintain
A lease.
a right to use the parking.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
That's
that's the
fine. I mean,
purpose of it, yeah.
That's
Whatever
the intention. We're not
whatever
trying
the
to-
vehicle
I'm not
is.
trying to sneak anything
Yeah.
by you.
Whatever the vehicle is.
That's the
but-
intention.
You?
I won't be around. That's the intention.
Okay.
So in the special permit, two recommendations. One is the lease agreement for parking and the parking study with the
All right, yep.
2 lots as well as on-site to make sure it's satisfactory?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Boyle with those 2 conditions, is that correct?
Yes, we do.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Any discussion? If not, we have a motion on the floor, and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Chair
very
votes
much.
yes, so that motion carries as well.
Thank
We
you.
get approval on the site plan and the special permit, and
I'll be in touch with Joe, so we'll.
so maybe we'll see you back in the future for the cell tower, the antennas. Okay, moving along on the next matter, we have a special permit on 430 Broadway Street. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Common Ground Development Corporation seeking special permit approval for redevelopment location of the above address. The proposal consists of reproposing the existing commercial space located on the ground floor into 3 residential units, while additionally allowing for a reduction from parking requirements for the property. Parking spaces to serve the existing and proposed residential units are proposed to be located on-site. The proposed project is located in the urban mixed-use zone district and requires special permit approval from the planning board under section 6.1.6 and Article 12 of the zoning ordinance. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Attorney George Theodoro, 133 Market Street, representing Common Ground Development Corporation. Common Ground Development Corporation is the owner of this building at 430 Broadway, and again is seeking a special permit for parking under 6.1.66 and a special permit for use under Article 12. Common Ground Development Corporation is a nonprofit. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of Community Teamwork. Community Teamwork is one of the largest nonprofits in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The subsidiary Common Ground Development Corporation was created for the primary purpose of creating affordable housing in the city of Lowell and the Merrimack Valley, and also to, the mission is to also secure and maintain affordable housing in the Merrimack Valley. They purchased this building at 430 Broadway in 2008. At the time, it consisted of 14 residential units, which are primarily 2 studios and 1 and 2 bedroom units. It supplies housing to various income levels, affordable housing to various income levels, and the first floor of the unit is a very large vacant space, which has been a drain on the nonprofit. And they've been looking for development opportunities to utilize that and also to create an economic opportunity for themselves that would fulfill their mission to provide affordable housing to residents in the city. And there is public financing that became available, and with that, they put forth this project to convert that unusable space into 3 apartments, 2 3-bedroom units and 1 2-bedroom unit. The current, the addition of the 3 residential units for homeless families, for permanent housing for homeless families who will be paying rent, again, that'll be subsidized through a state program. The lot itself comprises 19 units, 19 parking spaces, 18 normal spaces and 1 handicap space. Originally, when this proposal was brought forward, parking was going to be utilized across the street in a lot that is owned by Community Teamwork. A meeting was held at DPD, and we discussed it, and DPD suggested that we not use a lot to subsidize the parking across the street, but to plan a different proposal. And through their advice, we decided to utilize the relief that's provided for in the zoning ordinance, which would be to reduce the parking requirements by 50% under and make an application for a special permit under 6.1.6, Section 6, which provides for the reduction of the parking requirements by 50% if there is a public parking facility within 1,500 feet of the entrance to the premises. And we have submitted our proposal and show in this plan that the Stock Closes School fulfills this obligation. It is within 285 feet of the entrance to the building, and we have been informed through the DPD that there is precedence for this, for the use of this parking for this public school. There is precedence for this in other applications for relief. There is a letter in your materials from the city manager, which is a letter of support indicating that this project, that the manager's office approves this project. It complies with the City of Lowell's program in an effort to eliminate homelessness in the city within the next 10 years. Also, this project complies with, in the city manager's letter, the Acre Urban Revitalization Plan. Now, this is a unique opportunity for Common Ground Development Corporation to make an investment in the community, to provide housing for these homeless families. It is providing permanent housing. This is not housing for families that are in transition. Now, in accordance with their housing that is going to be provided there, there's also the availability of specific outreach programs that Common Ground Development Corporation offers for employment services and employment training. I'd also like to point out that on site, there are 8 apartment owners there who have cars. Those are the total number of owners in this affordable housing building that own cars. We don't anticipate that the homeless families that are going to be moving there are going to be coming with automobiles. So we believe that the parking on site is adequate. However, we also ask for the relief under the zoning ordinance that parking be, that additional parking can be fulfilled through the public parking at the Stocklosa School. And again, that we ask you to consider that there has been precedence for this in the past. The building itself, the front of the building, is landscaped with a very nice wrought iron fence in the front with some green shrubs that are there right now. I think it has a very nice presentation when you drive up to the building. That's not to say that we can't spend some money in planting some bushes in the front, but again, we want to remind the board that this is a nonprofit and that funds are limited through the public funding that they have. We believe that going through the plan that there's adequate snow storage on both sides of the project, and there's adequate dumpster storage over there, that the dumpster location is going to be reconfigured so that it will be easily accessed. The pickup is twice a week. We don't anticipate any problems with traffic there at all. Again, this is a residential building where people will be leaving, people who have cars will be leaving for work in the morning and returning for later in the afternoon. We did go over the comments with DPD, and we did meet with DPD, and that we, with respect to a bit of a change in the plan, this plan that you have in front of you, the most recent plan, is sort of a, we would call it more of a restriping plan, in which we reconfigured the parking. The parking spaces conform. The handicap space conforms.
When you say this, excuse me, just so I'm clear, you say this plan, that's the February 3rd plan?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I have a February 18th plan, which is the most recent plan. There was a plan that was submitted just this week, which is the same plan, and it shows the.
February 3rd.
There's a February 18th.
Yeah, but there's an update date down in the box.
Oh, yeah.
And this plan shows 19 parking spaces with 1 handicap space. We had a little bit of a difference in the configuration and the engineering of the bounds. What happened was we did a little bit more research. There was some more title work done on it and more research, and as a result of that, we had some of the bounds that had changed. We reconfigured, with respect to the traffic engineer's comments, we did reconfigure where the dumpster location would be. And we don't believe that there'll be a problem with the circulation and the handicap space at all, since, again, that was a little tight in the prior plan, but then this new plan, it was reconfigured to show that this handicap space complies with the ordinance. Snow storage this winter is, and for anyone, is always going to be a problem. But again, we ask that you consider the tight budget of the nonprofit, and if at some point it becomes a problem, that we will take snow off the site. But at the present time, we felt that we've handled it sufficiently. The landscaping comment, well, as we said, we believe that the front of the building looks nice. There's a nice wrought iron fence with some green space in front of it, but that's not saying that we would not dress it up a bit with some ornamental grasses that are there. They're hardy, they're sustainable with salt, and they look nice if it's necessary, that we could go ahead and do that. If there's, and here with me tonight is Mr. Steve Jonkas, who's the Director of Real Estate Development of Common Ground Development Corporation, as well as Mr. Bill Lipschitz, who is the Director of Real Estate Operations. And again, Common Ground is working throughout the Merrimack Valley, looking for opportunities to provide affordable housing, and this is a very unique opportunity for them to put in 3 units, 2 3-bedroom units, 1 2-bedroom units, and property that they already own, to make use of a space right now that is a drain on the building. Funds will be coming in from agencies that will permit these occupants to pay rent, which is another added benefit to the nonprofit. And might also add that they're going to be permanent residents of the community. And this is a good location. There are services throughout that neighborhood there for shopping. We have the Market Basket down the street. We have the drugstores down the street. The North Common for recreation purposes is not far. And these are going to be permanent residents of the community. If you have any other questions with respect to some of the technical aspects of the plan, Mr. Matt Hammer is here to help with that.
The first question I have is the parking with the school.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, can you cite the precedent on it? Because most of the new schools have been built in the last 30 years I've been here for. And number 2, I think if we did do it, we had a letter from the school department saying it was okay.
Yeah.
Tell me what precedent we're talking about?
Yeah, the precedent that we're talking about, and maybe Joe can help fill this in with me, is the fact that I believe there was a restaurant there that required to have additional parking, and that they reduced the requirements for by 50%, the parking requirements based upon the parking available at the Stocklosa School. And so that, based upon that, we used their recommendation in our application.
I think what happened was they had to get the okay from the school department to let them use the property in case for any other reasons. They did the same thing with other facilities in the area, and then if everybody was congested on the lot, there wouldn't be enough. Because if they have the same agreement with, say, 8 other entities. So basically, I think what we had in the past was we had a letter from the school department authorizing the additional parking on their site if necessary, sort of like we just did in the last project.
I think that's something that's reasonable, that the board wants to ask for.
That way it kind of covers, where that parking is, how it's adequate, and if that's something you could get from the school department, then I think that helps satisfy it. I mean, obviously, we've dealt a lot with the homeless in the city, and we coverage residential units for them, and we know it is less of a demand on parking on the fact, because we've had DPD do several studies for us for parking facilities when we've had other projects come forward, and they indicated that the Coalition for Better Acre and all those areas, our people don't have cars.
Yeah, which is the
And
case.
what they did the parking study, we've had it done on 3 different sites, and staff went up and did the parking count. Right, Joe, on Merrimack Street, we did it across from the Gorham Street Courthouse, when they went to put the project in there, then the funding fell apart. So that was the main concern, is we know that the demand's not there, but the demand is definitely there for housing.
Right.
But that was the only comment I had about the parking to start, so that jumped out at me at first, so.
I mean, run into the same situation as with the dorm, really. I mean, if the use should change, I mean, basing your development is for, people that need the housing, but if it should turn into an apartment building 10 years from now, so we gotta be careful in terms of the parking. And the letter from the school is very important.
Okay, it is an apartment building. The current use right now is.
I know, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Where parking needs would significantly change.
Well, we certainly will,
I'm with you.
we'll address that. I think that's important.
Does anybody else want to speak? Anybody else on behalf of the applicant before I turn it over to see anybody in the public want to make comments? Okay.
Well, this is a member of the public.
All right, sure. Let him step forward. Sure. You state your name and address for the record, please, sir, and let us know your concerns.
Good evening. My name is John Summers, 62 Willie Street. I lived in the area all my life. My house is around the corner from 430 Broadway Street. Growing up, I always knew it as White Electric Building. And
That's right there before Lynch's Paint Store, right?
yeah, Lynch's Paint is next door, correct.
Next door, yeah.
Right.
That's what I remember, Lynch's.
Yep. So 25 years ago, it got developed into an apartment building, and for 25 years, it's always been maintained properly, snow removal, dumpster. It's been very well kept. I've been in the units. They're very well figured up. I think around 5 years ago, this organization bought it, and in the last 5 years, they've kept up with good maintenance. The parking lot's always clean. They've kept up the standard that was set before. There's 2 entrances, one on each side of the building, so I don't think it's ever been a traffic problem. I don't think it will be. Community Teamwork is a very good organization. It's done a lot of work through the years, positive. I think this would be 3 additional units, affordable units, more important, that we're greatly in need of. So I'm in favor of this. I've had some, when the letters came out, I had some people knock on my door and ask me about it, and I explained it to them. And the 3 or 4 people I spoke to, my neighbors, thought it was a good project, that they were in favor of it. There was no one opposed to it. And so being in favor of it, I hope the board decides to pass it. I think it'd be a good thing. Like I said, Community Teamwork has done a lot of good in the past, the present. They've done some good projects in the past that very successful. I think this would be another one. So thank you very much.
Can I just ask you one question?
Yes.
I noticed when I was up there, like you say, there's entrance and exit, there's 2 of them there.
Yes.
I noticed there's gates there. Those gates ever close at all? I
don't
was
see them.
concerned about that for a minute.
I don't see them closing off, and I think
Yeah.
they're an option, but it is a
Saying
good.
if they would close, because I noticed that, like Trinity Theodora said, nice wrought iron in the front and a nice gate.
No, it's very nice. It's a nice building if you look, and it's figured up on the inside very, very good, and I'm sure they'll figure it up.
So I said, I wonder
Properly.
if these gates closed.
I haven't seen them.
them. I'm just curious, you being a butter, if you ever noticed them closed or.
I haven't seen them close, but I think
That
the
could be a
two,
fire problem.
I think the 2 entrances, one on each side, is a good thing, where you can come and leave, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Anybody else want to speak in regards to the project? If not, before I turn over to the board members, Joe, is there anything you want to bring up on behalf of staff? I know they addressed some of the issues in your letter. We talked about the snow storage and possible some more landscaping and,
Yeah, there really isn't a whole lot else, Mr. Chairman.
what about the dumpster, Joe? I know you mentioned something on that. Has that been changed on the new plan we have, or is that still the same as before?
It has been changed. Chairman might notice it's a fairly subtle change. The dumpster has been rotated 90 degrees. The concern was that before the dumpster was facing such that any dumpster servicing any truck servicing the dumpster was going to have to come in the opposite direction of where the exit arrow is. So now the dumpster's been rotated 90 degrees. Any truck coming in will circulate the site the same way any car would circulate through the site. So there wouldn't be that conflict at the exit point.
They
So,
changed the handicap spot in the back, I think we talked about before.
yeah, the angle of the parking has changed on the most recent plan as well. So that's allowed the hatching area for the handicap space to be adequate width to meet ADA standards. So that's been another comment that was addressed by the applicant in the most recent plan.
So council, I'm just follow up on those gates. They leave those gates open all the time, I imagine?
Yeah, I was by there myself, and I saw the gates, and I think it would be pretty problematic if they went ahead
Yeah.
and closed them.
I mean, it'd be nice if it's a private piece of property and they want to close them for some reason, whatever, you know, but.
I think they've been like that for forever. And just one comment for Mr. Lockhart is part of the requirements of the financing that they've obtained in the past when they purchased this, and the financing that they're obtaining to redo this, is that the units in this premises stay affordable.
Oh, yeah, I can appreciate
So so that goes to the in part to the parking issue.
Right.
So, I'll turn it over to any board members. Have any comments and questions at this time?
I have one
Sure,
question.
Mr. Malovich, if I can start with you?
Under its existing 13 residential units, how many people have cars?
We were told by the property manager that eight apartment units there have cars.
So half of them. So it should be sufficient for.
We believe that it would be sufficient. From speaking with the property manager, there's never been an issue for someone who needed any more parking or who did not have parking.
Thank you.
Joe?
We're just addressing also that most of the units are one-bedroom and studios, so there's not a need for multiple cars per unit.
All right, thank you. I think you've got a great project here. I especially like the fact that you're proposing larger units. You're not proposing additional studios or one-bedrooms. You're a couple of three-bedrooms and a two-bedroom, is that right?
Two 3-bedroom units and one 2-bedroom unit.
Yeah, that's very good to hear, based on the need for family housing, to deal with the homelessness problem. I think you've got a great project here. It's a lot more fun to come before these boards when you get to wear a halo, isn't it?
Oh, it is, it is.
I feel confident about the adequacy of the parking here. This setup with the Stocklosa School, did I hear correctly that a privately owned for-profit business, restaurant business, has entered into an agreement with the city to have access to the Stocklosa parking lot? Did I hear that? Oh, certainly hope the city's getting some consideration for that. In this particular case, I feel the parking issue has been more than adequately dealt with. The lot, is it currently striped?
The lot is going to have to be restriped to conform with this plan. But it is striped, but it'd be restriped to conform with the plan.
Okay. I do feel that I do want to see a landscaping plan approved by the Division of Planning and Development. I'm also being sensitive to the financial considerations of CTI. I would say that a striping plan that is adequate, that is deemed adequate by the Division of Planning and Development as part of that landscaping plan might be a way to accommodate that concern. I am more concerned with landscaping than with really getting the Cadillac of parking lot striping. And maybe putting those things together could provide a little bit of flexibility. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I had.
Mitch?
Yes, I have two questions. One, relative to snow storage. And CTI, you guys have a lot of real estate around the city. Do you have any kind of a provision to remove snow from properties anywhere else? I mean, I'm not, you know, required you do that here, but I'm curious.
In this specific property, there's no, it would be done on an as-need basis. Right now, they haven't removed any property from, any snow from this site to date, but it would be on an as-need basis to
Yeah,
remove.
I would almost think you'd have some kind of a contract for that, but that's, okay.
Steve Jonkus with Common Ground Development Corp., 155 Merrimack Street. The property, all of Common Ground's property is managed by an outside private organization. In this case, it's Peabody Properties. It's the same group that manages Rogers Hall. Bob, you're pretty familiar with them. And they've contracted with another private local firm for snow removal and snow plowing. So, you know, from a good landlord standpoint, I think we're pretty sensitive to the idea that if we have extraordinary amounts of snow left on the site and it's conflicting with residents' need to park, trust me, we're going to hear about
Yeah,
that from
all
the
right,
resident.
that's what I thought.
And we'll manage it.
Yeah. The only other question I have is relative to the traffic engineer's comment about the handicap space in the back. Have we adequately covered that?
I think you changed the plan on that, didn't you, George?
We did, we changed the plan to,
Addresses that.
Okay. all
Would
right,
you
as
angle
long
it
as
in
that-
differently, I
we
think?
angled it differently and provided
Well, that's
enough,
right, I did
enough
read
room
that.
for it
And
to
that's what you're
open
gonna
up.
put to be striping in there to make sure that everybody knows it's for the parking?
That's
for
it,
the
exactly.
handicap?
Yes.
So, I mean, people won't be pulling in there, and obviously you have it closest to the entrance in the back, so it's closest to the building.
That's what we did.
Yeah, because you want it closest to that back door, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think it's a great project with minimal impact to the existing site. Just from a practical sense, practical matter is, are you planning to do anything with that vacant lot across the street at all, or is that?
That, the vacant lot across the street is used right now for some parkings from spillover parking. Common Ground Development Corporation owns the multi-unit to the right of that at 423, 433.
Okay.
And so that is going to be used and kept separately from this and used for parking for that building.
Because what I can see is even we get an agreement with the school department for the Start Closer School to comply with what you're requesting. I think from a practical sense, if there is an overflow, I suspect that's where people are going to park.
We originally were going to take that, we originally were going to do that. However, it was suggested that we go.
I suspect that's the way it would play out. That's the way I used to park there when I'd go to Lynch Paint. So
Well-
I didn't realize you owned it. But yeah, it's a convenient lot, I suspect. But obviously, I think we certainly want to comply with the request. And that was first I heard of that being able to use the school, and I don't know where that approval came from and how long ago that was. But certainly, we'd want to, I agree with the chairman's concerns and thoughts on that. We'd want to have something in writing from the city side, from the school department, indicating that was acceptable. But other than that, I think it's a project that has minimal visual impact visual impact from just taxing any of the existing infrastructure, and it's providing a great service, so I certainly don't have any major concerns at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, I have no other concerns. Like I say, it's a nice-looking building. Driving around the back, it looked fine, you know, but the restriping for the handicap will be important. You know, you have to designate that. And the only concern I have is, you know, to meet the requirement, if you can get the letter from the school, because I think you only have to pick up a couple spaces from the school anyways, right? How many spaces would you have to request for?
Well, it actually reduces the parking requirement from 34 to 17 on site.
But the city zoning does
So it
not
would be 15
specify that
15
you have to
spaces.
have a number of spaces dedicated in that public
No,
lot.
but he needs like, what, you can reduce it up to 50%, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's how it reads.
But the language doesn't say you have to make up that number in the public parking facility. It doesn't mention numbers in the public parking facility at all, just that the public parking facility is within a
But
distance.
several times in the past, on the special permit, we put a certain number on it, but.
We have.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
we
go
have, we have on many approvals, because concerned, typical to the analysis we're asking for UMass Lowell.
Right,
On the
right.
prior projects is, that's great, you can have access to it, but if the capacity isn't there.
Right.
Obviously, this is a unique situation,
Right,
but.
Yeah, I mean, this has
yeah.
less impact instead of a bigger scale. So if you, yeah, if I have an agreement with the school department to park if necessary, then that's the only criteria that I have. That way, it meets the special permit request that you're seeking, you know? Besides that, I think everything else is in order, so.
Mr. Chairman, I did have one additional question.
Sure.
It occurs to me. Joe, would we be allowed to condition this approval on the units remaining affordable?
Could I step in for a second? The part of the financing, all the financing for the acquisition of the building back in 2008, and the financing that is going to be obtained, the public financing to build out the units, all require that the units stay affordable. So that's all a requirement of the financing that Common Ground Development Corporation is obtaining.
Is that in perpetuity?
I'll let Mr. Jonka speak on that. I believe it is.
The permanent financing from this project comes from Mass Housing Partnership, and it consists of something that they call Perm Plus, which is funding that's available to projects like this, and you don't make any principal or interest payments. And then the other portion of it, also from Mass Housing Partnership, is like conventional debt. So in order to qualify for the Perm Plus, we had to reserve a certain number of the units at 50% of AMI or below. The financing for the conversion of the first floor to residential from DHCD comes from sources that stipulate that the income levels be at 30% or below. And in order for us to be competitive, you know, we've made the stipulation that we would keep those units affordable in perpetuity.
Okay.
Those units that aren't restricted in terms of rent levels from funding sources at this point are all certainly below 80% of AMI, simply because of the size of the units and the location and the competition in the marketplace. So the units will always be affordable, either at the 60% or 50% or 30% and below number.
So all 17 of your units will be affordable in perpetuity?
Yep.
Okay. I bring this up, Mr. Chairman, because the affordability element of this project helps to drive down the parking demand. Okay, so were this building to cease to be affordable housing, were the neighborhood to go through a significant change and these all become market rate units, there would likely be a greater parking demand. but a permit to only provide this limited, to require this limited amount of parking. Hearing that they are secured in perpetuity puts that concern to rest for me.
Excuse me.
Okay, then, any other follow-up from the board members, or what's the recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the site plan
I think it's a special permit.
or special permit with the condition that the applicant obtain a letter from the school department regarding the parking at the Stock Closest School. That's all, just that one.
Do we have any discussion, a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I propose we add a condition that the DPD approve a landscaping and striping plan.
Yeah, and work with, I'll go along with that.
Thank you.
I agree with
Work
that.
with the DPD on a landscaping and striping plan for the parking area particularly. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion made and seconded, with three conditions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes, opposition? Hearing none, the special permit is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, we already took care of the Merrimack Street. So the next matter we have is discussion, the AS Cities Industrial Park Urban Revitalization and Development Project. I know we all received, I think it didn't come in the packet, but I believe it was emailed to us.
80-page document.
Yeah, and I know Rich has been involved in this as well. Joe, do you want to give us some background on this? I know you said you gave it to us tonight, and it's going to come back for us again in the future.
Yeah, that's correct. So the board, the council, and now on the city webpage, there's the draft plan for the Air City Industrial Park. And the public comment period is open through the first week of March. So we wanted to get this to the board in an adequate amount of time for you to review. And following that public comment period, you'll see a more formal presentation from DPD regarding the plan, the feedback that's been received thus far from the public, and it'll be able to be a time to gain feedback from the board so it can be incorporated into a final plan document.
Now, Rich, I know you've been involved in this. Anything you want to highlight or anything special you want to?
Well, yeah, there is.
Jump at?
Was there not, was there a meeting today on this?
There was. It was a
I heard it on the
EPA
radio
conference.
when I
Yeah, that's what I heard. There was,
There was some kind of a meeting on it.
yeah, very well attended. A lot of positive feedback received. So
Yeah.
that's what I had heard as well. It was a well attended.
Okay, well, yeah, I did attend a couple of public sessions, I think, in 2011, when it first came out. And I gotta say, it's come an awful long way, and it's a very positive report that has an awful lot of potential. There's a couple of things that don't meet the eye that I think are of interest. One is, you think of this Tanner Street redevelopment, Ayers City Industrial Park, is light industry, but there's a lot of residential neighborhood right around there that has to be you know, their needs have to be addressed through better streetscape and that, so, you know, whatever design goes into that. The other, excuse me, the other thing that, after reading through all the material, trying to create the conditions over there, and correct me if I'm wrong, trying to create the conditions on that Tanner Street area so that a developer can come into the city and redevelop it according to the market needs. You know, what will the market bear in terms of light industrial buildings? And what they've concluded here, as far as I can see, is that they're looking at space that's easily divided like into 5,000 square foot increments with a loading dock and a garage door, that type of business. There's a demand for that, I guess, and they've determined that. That's great. I mean, that's a good way to redevelop this property, but I hope we don't lose sight of the fact that, and I think, and I know people involved in the city of Boston and their innovation district down by the waterfront. We have I think, a similar situation here. And with the university in the city and their close ties to industry, you know, we need to really look at what potential needs might come out of that in terms of space. I know these days they're heavily involved in medical technology, and there's an industry in Massachusetts that's blossoming. It's growing. There's great potential here. That's what I see.
But you know, when they talked about it before, they talked about changing the grade of the connector. They're still talking
Yeah,
about doing that? 'Cause
no,
know that
I
was
haven't heard
That was a
that.
big input.
That
They're like,
was-
how are they
yeah.
gonna do that?
No, what the proposal, as I recall, was, and it was only like a vision from like NIMCOG or somebody, I don't remember at the time, is to actually bring the connector down to street level so that it's not elevated at all. And it was really interesting looking at how the streets would be combined to create new neighborhoods, and I mean, really, an interesting thing and probably a good thing to do, but, you know, it's probably impractical to think that would be the case there.
I remember after you went to one of your first meetings, you came back and indicated that was one of the discussions they had.
Yes, that was the first meeting.
Yeah, I remember when you gave us some
Yeah,
feedback on that.
yeah, right.
And we're like, wow, that'd be something.
I can't see that happening, but, you know, I mean, anything could happen there.
I always,
It's all a matter of funding and.
see, I always wonder about that, because doing a project like that would reclaim so much land from the highway. It would shrink, shrink the width, and bam, new real estate in the city.
Yeah.
Could the value of the new real estate pay for the project? I wonder about these things, because I don't think that is the only location in the city where we have overbuilt, or where the state overbuilt roads, and the city would benefit from getting some more of that land back. And would it be possible for the sale of that additional land to pay for the project to reduce the size of the highway? I always
Yeah,
wonder
you know,
about these
It
things.
opens up real estate, it opens up the development opportunities that.
To that point, though, Rich, it is in the city's master plan, because I was connecting
I
the.
didn't look at that.
Yeah, and it is, it's transferring the Lowell connector into a boulevard north of Plain
Yeah,
Street in a
okay.
direct
Is
pattern.
that in the-
Oh, it's in the, because
I was
part of
gonna
our
look at
job
it.
is to
I
make
didn't
sure
have
that the
time,
year, the
yeah.
year plan, city
Right.
plan is consistent with the master plan. And I was looking, and that's still in, so that's still something that is out there as a wish list, so.
And adding a bunch of new industrial
Big
park
big
land,
dollars.
not just residential, industrial park land that could be sold, that's some real money.
Right. Another interesting connection there is the closeness of that development to the LRTA terminal and the trains. And the fact that that building right there is going to be redeveloped into residential and some commercial, you know, the big Thorndike factory outlet building.
Oh, yeah.
Leposi.
Yeah. Yeah, that,
You create housing there, and you create some employment opportunities down the tracks a little bit, you know, you got an interesting synergy over there that, you know, has great potential. I think bottom line, what I would like to see in the long run is new industry, not just 5,000 square foot increments with a garage door and a loading dock, but some industry that's in a growth pattern that would employ people, and try to focus in on that. You know, it's a great opportunity long-term here.
What struck me reading the plan
Medical technology is just right here.
is that this is a true urban renewal plan. It involves potential condemnations. It involves a blight finding that the area is decadent and blighted, and using that authority to condemn and use eminent domain to take land. Next to the power to kill and the power to imprison, that might be the most terrible power that our government has. And it's not something that should be entered upon lightly. And particularly the blight designation is something that was often in our country's history abused. Abused not to address actual physical problems so much as, well, to destroy working class and low income neighborhoods. And so when I saw that language, it caused me a little bit of anxiety. But looking closely at the location, seeing that we're not talking about a neighborhood. We're talking about purely an industrial area, one that genuinely does have extremes of vacancy, extremes of dilapidation, and delayed maintenance, and site contamination, and inefficiently cut up property boundaries. This is the type of site for which those powers could be appropriate. We're not talking, discussing an urban renewal plan with condemnations. We're not talking about some of the more unfortunate projects that have been done, including in Lowell in the past. We're talking about the appropriate use of these powers.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question
Sure,
to Joe.
absolutely.
Joe, just one of the, under the plan, it says proposed zoning and performance standards is, and I just kind of an outline. Any idea, or is it still premature as to what we might be looking at as far as future zoning changes in that area, that at least something that DPD is looking at the moment, but?
Yeah, I think it might be outlined a little bit in the document. Maybe it hasn't been at this point, but I think there's some different dimensional standards that might be considered going forward for some of the new law configurations that were mentioned, particularly for areas where you would have to have screening and areas where you would have to make some improvements to the streetscape. Building setbacks might be a little bit different from what you're looking at now, I guess, in other industrial areas of the city. For instance, I don't believe there's really any setback requirements in any of our industrial districts right now. So what you would more likely see is some more uniformity between the different development or potential development projects within a district.
Where does DPD see that in the stage of all of this? When the plan gets approved, I'm assuming there's a series of action steps. Where would that be how do they see that in the series of action steps?
Yeah, I think it would be more hand in hand with the plan approval, perhaps a little bit later. You'd probably be looking at something, it'd almost be, in a way, more like an overlay district where it could have different regulations versus
sure.
other areas in the city.
Yeah.
So it would, I guess, more definitive standards might come a little bit later versus the general concept
Yep.
plan being endorsed. So I don't think it would be a significant amount of time from that, but I would imagine it would be a little bit afterward.
Good, thank you.
Moving along, anybody else have any follow-up from any of the other boards or committees they're on? If not any other follow-ups, that completes the agenda. We entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good night. Thank you, everyone. We adjourn.